Let it go.
Oh.
Good morning.
Hello. When you're watching this, it may or may not be morning, though.
Yeah, this is actually scheduled for more evening, nighttime sort of thing.
Wednesday
So
night.
if you're watching it at morning, shame on you. You missed the schedule, or you somehow hacked YouTube and you're on this before we're supposed to have it up.
Yeah,
so.
I don't think it'll be up in the morning.
You're not gonna do like schedule it, keep it private, that sort of thing.
Oh well, maybe. I don't know. Too much work to schedule it, and then have to remember to go back in and make it public. After
No, because if you schedule it, there's a way you can do it where it automatically becomes public, and that saves you work for later. So it's being lazy now to be more lazy later. So you don't have to worry about complications.
Okay.
Anyway, today we are here in our living room. There's stairs behind us.
There are.
And you know how I know it's the living room?
Because you're living in it?
Exactly. And we're both living.
We're both living.
We're both living, and we're in a room.
And so it must be a living room.
Yes. I hope the room isn't living, though. That would be...
Well, that's confusing, then.
Have you seen Monster House? Okay, so it's about this house that an old guy and like his wife build together, and she like dies, but she loved the house. I'm doing a terrible job of explaining
right,
this.
And it becomes alive and tries to kill people.
Yeah, well, it only kills people that mess with her husband, who's ancient now, or trying to mess with the house, which is technically her now.
Okay.
It was not okay. Should we
start over?
No, we're not starting over. We're keeping
right,
this. This is a beautiful introduction.
Okay.
So tonight we are going through the reference.
We're still in First Chronicles.
I was getting to that one step at a time. We're in the references to prayer in First Chronicles. First one.
5,700 of them, or maybe slightly less.
If we're going by verses, we have.
Well, I mean, that's like the whole context, so it's really only like 3 verses.
17.
3.
Well, there are 3 references, 17 verses.
3 verses. I mean, like I said, that's just
okay. Fine, I'll only read those 3 verses. Then we'll be out of here real fast.
Good.
All right. So our first one is going to be in 1 Chronicles chapter 5, verses 18 through 22. The Reubenites, the Gadites, and the half-tribe of Manasseh had valiant men who carried shield and sword and drew the bow, expert in war. 44,760 able to go to war. They waged...
That's a pretty good bit of soldiers.
There's quite a few. That's
army.
That's more than I have at my disposal. I don't know about you. I think that's more than Abraham had.
I don't put people in my disposal. Only garbage. It's garbage disposal. Don't put men in it.
I won't tell you how many people I have in my disposal then.
Okay. We don't want to know.
No incriminating evidence on this channel, right? All right.
Don't confess.
So, as Christians, we're commanded to confess. That's important. Ignore him. He's a sinner.
So confess then. How many?
In my garbage disposal?
Uh-huh.
None. I don't have my house built yet. And that one's not mine.
We don't actually have a garbage disposal.
There we go. Win-win for everybody, except the bodies I stuffed in the sink. Okay. They waged war against the Hagrites, Jetur, Nephish, and Nodab.
Wow. Those people may have deserved to be fought against just because of their names.
Bold words coming from a man named Clive Staples Lewis.
That's not my name.
His name was Eustace something, and he almost deserved it. Wow.
Almost.
I mean,
maybe it was a grand name. Maybe he was saying he almost lived up to such a high standard of a name.
His first name was Eustace.
Okay. Are we going to continue?
Yeah, sure. We'll go on ahead with this. And when... I'm sorry. Hang on. And when they prevailed over them, the Hagrites and all who were with them were given into their hands, for they cried out to God in the battle.
And what if it was the Hagridites?
Just a bunch of half giants just wandering around and be like, Roar, give me back my Fluffy.
Oh, well. You can't have everything.
And every 3 seconds going up to a child and being like, I should not have said that. I should not have said that.
Yes.
Yep, Hagridites. Okay. They cried out to God in the battle, and he granted their urgent plea because they trusted in him.
That's the mention of the prayer right there. They cried out to the Lord.
That's it. That's all it is.
Yeah.
In case you haven't watched any of the prayer mentions before, it's not like, oh, here's a prayer.
It's not like here's an actual prayer.
It's more of just like,
hey, somebody prayed.
It was a prayer.
And God answered that prayer. They cried out to him, and they won the war.
We don't know what he said.
Oh, well, I mean, he answered it
he
in
did
action.
Yes. It wasn't. It wasn't
they asked.
Like, it wasn't like the Israelites were like, "Hey God, can you help us win this war?" And he was like, "Yes." It was more
Sometimes
of just like
it was like that,
he did it. He did it.
It was just like he acted it out.
Because sometimes you say yes, and then sometimes you just skip
sometimes
the communication.
You just be yes.
You just do a yes.
Be the yes you want.
Be the yes you want to have.
So yeah,
world. I don't know.
They trusted him as the reason he answered it yes.
Yes.
So if you're going to ask God to help you win a war, trust him.
And then the results. They carried off their livestock, 50,000 of their camels, 250,000 sheep. That's a lot of wool. You can make some clothes with that, okay?
You can make some haggis with that too.
But why would you want to?
I don't know. You could have leg of lamb for like every day of your life. Sausage.
I feel like lamb sausage could be good.
Lamb sausage. Mutton. There's nothing better than a good MLT, mutton, lettuce, and tomato. When the mutton is tender. And if you don't get that,
when the mutton is nice and lean, and the tomatoes are crisp.
That's not what he said.
That's what he says.
Okay, we're gonna have. Now I know what. Yeah, we're gonna have to watch that again. We gotta watch that again.
Maybe not tonight.
Not tonight.
But anyway.
I'll just look up the answer. I'll just that clip.
Yeah. So
if you don't know what that is, you need to learn because it's a funny movie. All right.
2,000 donkeys and 100,000 men alive, as opposed to the men dead that they carried back with them for
Why did they take? I guess they
garbage disposal.
I don't think it was for garbage disposal.
I mean,
it's probably they probably got them some slaves.
Okay, listen, you got to start a compost heap one way or another, right? A nation that big, farming.
Composts you usually want like vegetable material. You don't really want to put like people in your compost pile. It's.
I mean, once they're dead, they're basically vegetable material in one way or another.
No, they're not. Okay.
For many fell, and they did not get back up, because the war was of God, and they lived in their place until the exile.
So they beat. I mean, there was, but notice that. I mean, there was 44,000 of them, and they took 100,000 captives, not counting how many they killed.
Mm-hmm.
So they were like seriously outnumbered, but they won anyway because they trusted God and they cried out to him, and he answered their prayer.
How do you guard prisoners when there's twice as many of them as there are of you? Like that's just
well. Let me explain the way this works. When the guards have weapons and the prisoners don't, several people can be guarded by one person.
Yeah, but still, somebody's gonna be dumb and try something, and eventually it's gonna work.
I don't know about that.
Who am I thinking of? I'm thinking of an example. Gladiators. Spartacus? Not Spartacus.
I don't know about Spartacus.
Wasn't Spartacus. Gladiator. Something. I'll get to that later. It'll be important. Not this point in history. Romans later on.
It won't be important.
Listen, it was an important...
Right, let's move on.
Yes.
Second, number 2 per mention. What?
First.
Wait, first? We
Chronicles. Chapter 21, verses 22 through 30. And David said to Ornan... I couldn't tell if it was an R and an N.
Yeah, I hate when the R and N are right next to each other and you can't tell.
It's just like, guys, leave room for Jesus.
So, background on this one. just a little bit. There was a plague sent by God because David had been naughty and counted the people, which for some reason was a bad thing to do.
I still don't get that
his
one.
pride, trying to put his faith and trust in the size of his army and the size of his nation instead of trusting God. There was something. God didn't want him to do it, and he did it anyway. And
he had some problems.
Even Joab. Joab was a mess, but even Joab said, "Really, King, we shouldn't do this."
Yeah.
If Joab thinks it's a bad idea, you should really back off.
Yeah.
Because this is the guy that stabbed somebody in the belly when he was trying to make peace with him. He's not. It's this.
This man killed the king's son.
Oh yeah, he did that too.
Mm-hmm.
Killed the king's son. Yeah. So
like
if he thinks it's a bad idea, it's probably a really bad idea.
They had some problems, right?
He had some problems.
David said to Ornan, "Give me the side of the threshing floor that I may build on it an altar to the Lord. Give it to me at its full price, that the plague may be averted from the people." Then Ornan said to David, "Take it, and let my lord the king do what seems good to him."
Yeah, so David wants to buy a place to build an altar, make sacrifices to God to stop this plague that's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So he does that.
And he's willing to, and he wants to buy it, and the guy says, No, let me just give it to you. And so, what happens next?
Well, you stopped me in the middle of a verse, so
I know.
Mm-hmm. "See, I give the oxen for burnt offerings, and the threshing sledges for the wood, and the wheat for a grain offering. I give it all."
Wow. This guy's serious. He's going to give not just the place, but the wood, the animals, wheat for a grain offering. He's got it all. He's going to give it all. But. However.
VeggieTales. That was a good episode.
I don't remember that one.
But King David said to Ornan, "No, but I will buy them for the full price. I will not take for the Lord what is yours, nor offer burnt offerings that cost me nothing." So David paid Ornan 600 shekels of gold by weight for the site.
That was a lot.
It was a lot.
Maybe even more than it was worth.
Well, technically it was a site, not a lot. I don't know. When did they start calling them lots instead of, just...
I really don't know the history of the two words.
And language barriers.
Yeah. Actually, maybe that's just a translation thing. Maybe it could have been translated lot.
So he paid a lot for a lot.
Paid a lot for a lot.
Seems like an equal trade.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Mm-hmm. But was Lot involved?
I think he was dead by this point.
Yeah, you probably right.
Could have had a different Lot involved. After all, they're buying something, and slave trade was legal.
Well, yeah, I think we've already covered it's a threshing floor, though, not a person. And oxen. Also not people.
The oxen could have names.
David is not buying people except for the ones that he wants to keep alive.
That's fair, but...
He's buying them back from the Lord, because the Lord's going to kill a bunch of them if he doesn't make this sacrifice, because he's mad.
The oxen could still have names.
That's true. We could name one of them Lot.
Okay.
And the other one Sight.
One of the oxen is Lot, and the other one is Sight.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
They're both about to die.
Yeah.
And David built there an altar to the Lord and presented burnt offerings and peace offerings and called on the Lord, and the Lord answered him with fire from heaven upon the altar of burnt offering.
Wow, that hasn't happened since Elijah's day. For God to just drop fire down on the altar like that.
Dad?
What? Oh wait, Elijah
was after
David. This. But that's okay, so this came first. Yeah. You don't know this, but I'm tired. My brain is not working. You don't know this,
but I'm tired too. Actually, you probably do know that because I've been a little delirious already.
Has he yawned yet? I didn't notice you yawned.
I've been yawning a lot, all right?
All right. Just so long as you get your yawns in. It's not one of our videos without yawns.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah, so, yes, this was before Elijah. But yeah, that's, fire from heaven onto an altar. Wow. That means when Elijah... I never even realized that part. That means when it happened with Elijah, it wasn't like a totally new concept. It had happened before, and they knew about it. So it was written down.
Maybe 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 that makes a little more sense then, because then when Elijah did it, it wasn't just, oh, God's real and he can do stuff.
Yeah, maybe
but it was a
confirmation thing.
It's this God. It's the God that David worshipped. It's like the same being.
Yeah, could be. All right, so that's it. But he called on the Lord, and the Lord answered him with fire from heaven. I am glad that God has never answered one of my prayers with fire from heaven.
I'm glad that people don't answer me the way God answers other people. And if I'm just talking to somebody, I'm like, hey, like I'm at work or something, I'll be like, hey, did you get the tacos for that order? And they're like, fire! Like, I'd quit my job.
You tried to give me fire when I ordered something one time.
Yeah, I guess I did.
Like a lot of people. He tries to throw fire at people. I'm going to have to
start throwing fire sauces at people at work now just because of this.
Oh, no. We've given him a bad idea.
Listen, I will answer people the way my God answers people. Fire.
All right.
Of course, God only threw fire at people when they were bad.
Yeah, that tended to be. Although, I mean, here he's like doing it in a good way, kind of. I mean, he burns the offering up, doesn't burn any of the people, and then he commanded the angel to stop killing people.
Mm-hmm. So
I mean, that's a good
the
fire.
Lord commanded the angel, and he put his sword back into its sheath. At that time, when David saw that the Lord had answered him at the threshing floor of Ornan the Jebusite, he sacrificed there for the tabernacle of the Lord, which Moses had made in the wilderness, and the altar of burnt offering were at that time in the high place at Gibeon. But David could not go before it to inquire of God, for he was afraid of the sword of the angel of the Lord.
So he still had some fear about him, which is, I mean, there's a certain amount of reverent fear that we should have for, somebody that can throw fire down from heaven at us,
and just
and strike people dead
plague
with an angel,
yeah,
striking people down.
Mm-hmm.
That could be tough.
So the last one we're going to be looking at today is in 1 Chronicles, chapter 23, verses 25 through 32. This one's a little bit longer. For David... Voice still sounds a little off. I'll have to fix that later. For David said, "The Lord, the God of Israel, has given rest to his people, and he dwells in Jerusalem forever. And so the Levites no longer need to carry the tabernacle or any of the things for its service."
So this is when David sets up the tabernacle in Jerusalem to stay, so it's not traveling around from place to place anymore. And they got the Ark of the Covenant and moved it in there too. All that. Yeah.
For by the last words of David, the sons of Levi were numbered from 20 years old and upward. For their duty was to assist the sons of Aaron for the service of the house of the Lord, having the care of the courts and the chambers, the cleansing of all that is holy, and any work for the service of the house of God. Their duty was also to assist with the showbread, the flour for the grain offering, the wafers of unleavened bread, the baked offering, the offering mixed with oil, and all measures of quantity or size. And they were to stand every morning, thanking and praising the Lord, and likewise at evening. And whenever burnt offerings were offered to the Lord on Sabbaths, new moons, and feast days, according to the number required of them, regularly before the Lord. Thus they were to keep charge of the tent of meeting and the sanctuary, and to attend the sons of Aaron, their brothers, for the service of the house of the Lord.
Yeah, so their whole job was just to
stay busy,
serve God all the time.
They stayed busy.
Yeah.
Of course, when the country was actually with God and hadn't completely abandoned him, when they did abandon him, the Levites kind of seemed to occasionally become priests for idols and other gods.
Yeah, because
that is what they were used to. They were priests.
And some of them weren't particular about who they were a priest for.
Yeah.
But I think the mention here really is they were to stand every morning thanking and praising the Lord. I think that is where the prayer mentioned. That's about as close as it gets.
Yeah.
To mentioning the prayers, thanking and praising. But I mean, obviously, thanking and praising could also be singing, or something to that effect too. So it's not for sure absolutely necessarily the same exact thing. What you looking at now?
I was looking at the next video topic that we're going to be doing, and it's kind of big.
Yeah, we're not doing it tonight.
Mm-hmm.
We're not.
Good this one's thing already... too. It would be 15, almost an hour long.
Yeah, there's like 3 different things there.
Yeah, that's a large one.
That's big. It's definitely big. That's why I actually put it after the mentions.
So. Yeah. So we're not actually done in First Chronicles
yet. We do have one more First Chronicles.
Generally, we do the mentions last, and once we do
those,
we're
done with the book. But in this case, the mentions actually all come before this one, because this one's in First Chronicles 29, and the last of the mentions was in First Chronicles 23. So
that's fair. So yeah. Is this the last in First Chronicles?
That is the end of First Chronicles right there. Yeah, that'll be the last.
Those 3.
One more First Chronicles one.
Yep. Those 3 were the last. The mentions for First Chronicles, and then Sunday evening we'll be doing the last one in First Chronicles.
The last of the First Chronicles, and
then we'll be moving on to Third Chronicles.
Are we going to just skip the second?
There may not be any prayers in the second one, Dad. I mean,
there may not, but you just assumed we're going to the third. It was a rough time. But there were some prayers. There were some praying people.
There's always prayers in rough times.
I mean, I bet you Josiah or somebody says a prayer.
Mm-hmm. Josiah
may. We already talked about Hezekiah in 2 Kings.
Josiah may actually have a public prayer for the rededication of the temple.
He may.
I don't know that section well enough to know if he does or not, but I could definitely...
It could happen.
I could see that.
It could happen.
It could be fun, though.
Okay. So, we had 3 prayer mentions. God helped them in war because they trusted him. And then God answered David and stopped the plague because David offered him a sacrifice. And not one that was free either. He paid for that sacrifice. Mm-hmm. Understood the meaning of the word sacrifice. Mm-hmm. And then this final one, that the Levites were supposed to stand every morning thanking and praising the Lord. That's a good practice to follow. When you get up of a morning, or like some people in the afternoon. But when you wake up...
I'm not asleep yet.
I know you're not asleep yet, because it's morning. Oh, you're up. So when you get up, you go ahead and say your prayers and thank God and praise him.
Okay.
And then you can go to bed and go to sleep.
Okay.
All right. But yeah, so three good. I mean, hopefully you're not ever going to war. Maybe
first in war, first in peace, first over the hearts of your countrymen.
I don't
prayer. Am I wrong?
Pray for the hearts of your countrymen. That'd probably be a good idea.
First in war, first in
David
peace.
prayed and sacrificed to God to stop a plague. Maybe we should try that.
Nah. Vaccines work.
Nothing else has worked yet. We're still in the middle of. Maybe we should try that instead. Turn back to God and talk to him.
Well, the issue is just that the vaccines haven't been given enough time. They've only been around for a couple months.
Mm-hmm. It's been more than a couple, but anyway.
Really?
Yeah.
I wasn't aware of that, actually.
He pays no attention to the world.
I don't pay attention to anything. I just live my life. You guys can do your stuff.
Alrighty, well, but be praying. Prayer never hurts.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you close your eyes and pray while you're driving. Don't do that. He's thinking real hard about that one.
No, I'm just like, that was... Do you have experience?
No, I'm...
Because
I'm just saying...
well, okay, in that situation, if you're ever in a car and you're not driving, the person driving closes their eyes to say a prayer, you better follow suit, alright? Because you're gonna want to be getting some praying in before stuff goes down.
I think you might want to actually reach over and grab hold of the steering wheel and make sure they stay on the road.
No, the prayer is more important.
Okay.
Listen, if something's causing them to close their eyes and start praying while driving...
You don't want to see what it is either? Is that your... Okay.
You better start praying too.
So it's like Independence Day or something?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Big, huge spaceship of aliens coming to destroy the whole planet.
I gave it a cold.
Yeah. Okay. Good. All right. Well, hopefully you've enjoyed, or, at least suffered through this. All right. We'll see you on Sunday, I reckon. Bye.
Bye.